week from hell. Crypto has a stinker as Bitcoin ETF outflows continue, rate hike expectations rise, and a critical bug is discovered in Zcash. Michael Saylor. Meanwhile, much of the crypto community's rage is focused on the strategy CEO who preached the gospel of never sell your Bitcoin and who just sold some Bitcoin. And we'll have TA from Geordie, tweets of the week, dates for your diary, a special hotline you can call to tell us how cross you are with Michael Saylor, and much more besides. This is the Coin Bureau News, live. Hello everyone, yes, this is indeed the Coin Bureau News live, the We All Hate Michael Saylor edition. Yes, it is. Michael Saylor is crypto's #1 villain of the week after being hero of the week for so many times. He has now done a complete 180 and flipped. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Nick, how are you, sir?
I'm okay. From Michael Saylor to Michael Saylor. He should change his name. Mr. Never Sell Your Bitcoin has dropped the ball on us. But we start the stream off with some good news because he did go back to buying.
He's back to buying.
He's back to buying again. Yes, it doesn't make up for the loss.
Buy a few thousand Bitcoin and everything will be just fine.
He bought like 10 times the, it was like 10 times the Bitcoin he sold, but the impact that it had on the price on his holdings was a massive unrealized loss. So, not necessarily the best trader.
Yeah. Well, we'll dig into all that in a bit because yes, there is nuance to this. It's not merely a case of Saylor selling and we're all doomed. But yes, certainly the big news story of this week, which we will be digging into a little later. Before that, we're going to run through last week in crypto, which quite apart from Saylor getting up to his antics was actually a pretty eventful one. There was a lot of stuff happening, a lot of data, a lot of macro stuff, and another crypto drama as well. So plenty to dig into. Then we will have some TA with Geordie, and we'll try and answer some of your questions as we go along as well. As you can see beneath me, there is a like button that is, I think, probably almost rusted over now. But if you want to try pounding that like button, if we get to 30%, maybe we'll try and get Michael Saylor on a future stream to come and explain himself, whilst we just hurl abuse at him.
We'll DM him. I think you dropped the objective there, maybe 20%. We got to realize this. We got to adjust our expectations. We got to realize this is a bull market. This is bear market likes. Yeah, we are asking for.
Okay.
So. Go ahead and fire up those likes, guys. But let's jump back to last week. If you'll recall, back those days when Bitcoin was still above 70,000, hey? Such a good time. So long ago. I hark back on those times. But yeah, we did start off the week, Bitcoin falling. So Bitcoin fell below 73K. We started with Bitcoin on the Monday falling. And then we got the dreaded news that we just alluded to, that Saint Saylor has become Saint Saylor, and he sold 32 Bitcoins, which really did shock the markets. And we'll be covering this in much more detail later in the stream on our second section. But yeah, the first sale of Bitcoin from Michael Saylor since 2022.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, yes. So whilst we were all digesting that news, elsewhere in the real world, stuff was happening. The talks in the Middle East, I think, were off. President Trump Iran ended all negotiations. I really don't care. I couldn't care less, Trump says. That's the language of diplomacy we like to hear.
Yep, the talks were off, but then seems they were back on. So this is all in the span of a few hours. So the schizophrenic, he said, she said, back and forth. Or it could not be indeed even she said. It could just be Trump talking to another Trump. Or, that famous meme, are those Iranians you're talking to in the room with us today?
Iran hasn't been in the chat for a long time. Meanwhile, in stocks, it was looking pretty good. The S&P 500 closed a new high on Monday. It was chasing a 10th consecutive green week, which hasn't happened I think the last time it happened was in 1985.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah. Then also the start of June, it was a critical timeline for clarity. So this month, this make or break month before the 4th of July break. This is the only time really where clarity could get momentum to get floor time. That's the next stage for it, and everyone's hyper focused on whether we could get clarity to a floor vote.
Yeah. Time is very much running out. Bitcoin was feeling the heat there. It fell below 70K, possibly on that clarity uncertainty, but there was lower to go, was there not?
69K, 68K, we just kept on falling through those support levels, slicing through it like a knife through butter. And one would say, what's happening to stocks at this time of pandemonium in the crypto? Oh, it's rallying, of course. All-time highs again.
Opposite. Incredible. Yeah, stocks just will not quit. Okay, that takes us to Wednesday. The slide continued, 67K, then 66K. Were both broken through. And if you want a reason for that, I mean, obviously, Saylor and his selling was not good for sentiment. But actually, as we argued in a video last week, the main reason, arguably, is these ETF outflows. And by Wednesday, we were on a 12-day ETF outflow streak.
Yeah, it's like one of the longest since the ETFs initially launched. There was some good news on the job market side, economics, and this was the ADP, private payrolls number, came in stronger than expected, and this was likely a precursor to the NFP numbers, which we'll get to in a bit.
Yeah. Then Thursday, 65K, 64K, 63K. It just did not stop. Very easy for the Twitter team. You just reuse the same logo. It just underlines what a bad trade strategy has been.
Yeah, exactly. So this is interesting. The context of it and the framing around it is very important, because so he sold 32 Bitcoin for $2.5 million. But because of that sale and the signaling and the impact that had on Bitcoin's price, it led to his largest unrealized loss ever of $12 billion. So, yeah, talk about a bad trade.
Yeah, it was not pretty. As you pointed out in a tweet, Nick, key levels were, the tweets there, key levels were being broken. Which takes us to Friday. The insane ETF outflows continued.
Yep, just continued coming. And this then brought Bitcoin below 62K and ETH below 1,700. Oh. So it just keeps on going, man. And in and amongst all of this, we had some, as if it's coming at the most opportune time. When it rains, it pours in the crypto markets. So Zcash was down 27% because of a critical vulnerability that was discovered with Opus 4.8 that was patched, but there was questions around whether this vulnerability had been exploited prior, and that's something you did a video on last week. Actually did it recently, right? And it's coming out today, right?
Filmed it this morning. Yeah. Filmed it this morning, so we were putting together the research for that over the weekend. Yeah, it's a very interesting one. This obviously, this was really bad news because this bug had been around basically since the Orchard shielded pool had gone live in 2022. So over 4 years, this bug had been sitting there. And what do you remember when Anthropic was talking about, I think it was Claude Mythos recently, and they said that they weren't going to release it to the public because it was so dangerous and it had found all these 0-day bugs and whatever. And there was speculation at the time. It's like, well, does that mean the 0-day bugs hiding in crypto code? And the answer to that is a most emphatic yes, there is. This particular Claude tool, because I think it's important to say actually as well, to clarify that this wasn't just a researcher, this wasn't just some rando who was just sort of putting putting Zcash's code into Claude and going, "Tell me what's wrong." This was a proper auditor, proper researcher who was using Claude very specifically. But yeah, without that AI model, they probably would have missed it, like every other security auditor had. So we are now at this stage, and I posted something on the Coin Bureau Club Discord about this earlier. I would personally be absolutely amazed if this was the last incident of this kind. I mean, full credit to the Zcash team. The bug was found. They worked like hell to get it fixed. And as far as we know, no fake ZEC was minted. Although, because it's shielded, because it's private by default, we will never know for sure. But the Zcash team did really well to get it, to fix it. But that uncertainty remains, and obviously uncertainty is not what we want.
Great solution for the Zcash team. Just de-anonymize all of the ZEC out there to prove that it's all there. And then problem solved, right? Just de-anonymize everyone's ZEC and just prove it's all exists and there's none extra that's been minted. And then, it's not a privacy coin, but at least you've proven that it hasn't been exploited. But beyond that, okay, so we had the NFP numbers on Friday. It was a banger, actually, in terms of the massive beat, 172,000 over the expected of 80K. So the US job market was humming. But of course, this then spooked the markets because of concerns around what this means for monetary policy. And it's pretty clear now that we are now likely going to have a rate hike this year, which is wild to think. You can see the probabilities shifting there just over the past month. But yes, we've gone from the start in this year at the expectation of potentially 2 rate cuts to now the market saying we probably need rate hikes towards the end of the year.
Yeah, we should check out what the poly market odds on that are. I haven't looked recently, but yeah, I mean, it's looking pretty nailed on that we will get a rate hike before the end of the year. And I mean, wow, we're nearly halfway through 2026, Nick. Can you believe that? We're into June now, so come the end of June, we'll be halfway through. Where has this year gone?
Time flies when you're having fun, guy. Time flies when you're having fun.
I can agree with the first part of that sentence. It's the second part that I'm taking slightly.
Are we having fun? Are we just having fun, guys? We're having such a good time.
Having so much fun. Okay, speaking of fun, over the weekend and into Monday, there was a bit of a recovery for crypto. It managed to drag itself out of that slump.
No, you jumped a bit ahead of the curve there, mate. You forgot that we fell below 61K and then 60K on Friday evening. You're jumping ahead to the good news first. We need to go and give them the full story.
That's true. I was just trying to block it out, really. Yes. Before the rainbow, we had to have the rain. 61K, then 60K. Stocks actually also took a dip on Friday, didn't they?
Yeah, massive collapse there, and this is all because of, like I said, those the rate cut expectations on our rate hikes. But yes, there was a recovery on the weekend. It seemed to be going well. But then, of course, well, where's the charts? Recovery. Yes, there was a bit of a recovery going on. Things looked as if the worst may have been over. That could have potentially have been the bottom for this cycle. But then we got some news that overnight there was a bit of a ruckus in the Middle East, as per usual.
Yeah.
As Trump would say, his famous quote, it's what does he define as a ceasefire? He says in that part of the world, in the Middle East, a ceasefire is when they are firing more moderately.
Yes, not really getting the ceasefire memo there. So yes, so that's kind of kicking off again in the Middle East. Meanwhile, the panic was in Korea. The Kospi took a big hit first thing this morning, didn't it? Crashed 8% and triggered the circuit breaker.
Yeah, and this is on the back of an epic rally that we saw the week prior. And the biggest stocks, the biggest gainers there were the memory stocks that took the biggest hit. There was good news, though, today. As I mentioned, Strategy is back to buying, and he bought, do we have the tweet there? I don't know if we got, what's the exact number? I'll put it up. He bought 1,550 Bitcoin for $101 million. So, yep, he's back to buying. And thankfully, also, Iran seems to have called off the more strikes right now. But then again, before the stream started, saw a headline that air raid sirens are sounding in Israel. So you never know.
Okay, that is still very much an ongoing thing. Let's look ahead to this week. Then we have quite a lot happening. We have the CPI coming soon. We also have the SpaceX IPO pricing, and possibly more war.
Yeah, exactly. And quickly moving on to the charts, taking a look at it. Let's start firstly on the weekly of Bitcoin. Now, this is very important, and I highlighted this level prior as well for the past few days. Bitcoin's 200-week simple moving average. This is a very important level because this had been since the beginning of time one of Bitcoin's key resistance levels for any bull market. And indeed, in this entire cycle, we haven't broken below the 200-week simple moving average. And we did last week, however, and thankfully, we did manage to close above it. So far on the weekly, we've managed to just hold above the 200-week simple moving average. But I would definitely keep my eyes on that resistance level because it will be key to determining whether it was a bottom and whether more pain is ahead. Moving on to the daily, another thing which is really interesting was this is the daily RSI, so the relative strength index, which is an indication of how oversold or overbought an asset is. In this particular case, last week, Bitcoin's daily RSI was at the lowest level since March 2020. And what's really interesting is in March 2020, when we hit that really low RSI level, a few months later, Bitcoin managed to rally up about 1,000%. So, the past isn't an indicator of future returns, but it does rhyme.
Yeah. Let's hope so. We could do with a bit of rhyming, couldn't we?
Yeah. And then one more thing on the ETH side. Also, ETH's RSI is the lowest ever. So not even since 2020, the lowest ever. So ETH is now the most oversold according to the RSI since the beginning of time, which is wild. Although, good news as well, Mr. Tom Lee did indeed buy another few hundred million of ETH prior to the stream as well. So he's undeterred.
Okay, he's throwing good money after bad. Good for him. We'll see how that turns out. I mean, maybe he's buying at the low, so who knows? Okay, folks, if you want to trade these crazy markets, then the place to do it is on BitGet. And the good news is it's not just crypto. You can trade tokenized stocks there as well. You can use a crypto exchange to buy tokenized TradFi assets. You can swap BTC for tokenized gold and other assets beside, right, Nick?
Yeah, exactly. And you can trade up to 500 times leverage if you're that brave on these TradFi assets. And you have the deepest liquidity and the lowest slippage. And if you don't have a BitGet account, you can scan the QR code on the screen and create one right now. And if you complete the deposit steps, there is up to $50,000 in deposit bonuses that you could avail yourself of if you use our specific link in the description or scan that QR code. So go and give it a try, guys. Sign up to BitGet and trade those TradFi markets.
Nice. Okay, before we really lay it into Michael Saylor, let's just have a look at what people are saying in the comments. Crazy Diamond said people really couldn't see this coming. I think this was when we were talking about Saylor earlier, which is a good point. I think there was always that sort of question mark hanging over. I think ever since all these shenanigans with Stretch, with the STRC preferred and all this. Since that all kicked off and these dividend obligations started to rise, I think that question of whether strategy would be forced to sell to cover, at least dividend payments, I think that was always live, wasn't it? So maybe we should have seen this coming.
Yeah, no, of course, true. Good point. Yeah.
Waking Up G7 says, love the yin and yang t-shirt combo today, guys. I tell you, more preparation goes into the outfits than into the stream itself. So just, as you
Ebony and ivory.
Iloka 9015 tried to catch this live this time because I always felt bad watching the replay. Well, we're flattered that you made the effort, Iloka.
Rather late than never. Hopefully you make it a regular occurrence.
Yeah, become one of the regular viewers. Bandy Masher says, good afternoon from Moscow, Russia. Always good to have viewers from exotic locales, and they're drinking spiced coffee, turmeric, ginger, black pepper, and cinnamon, made with full fat milk.
What? Spiced coffee?
That sounds adventurous. That will either taste absolutely revolting, or just absolutely next level good. I don't think there's any middle ground.
Kind of good. It looks on the sweet side, but black pepper. No, I don't know if I want that.
Yeah, I've heard of turmeric, ginger, cinnamon, etc. in coffee. I don't think I've come across black pepper in coffee before. Interesting. Well, Bandy, tell us what it's like. What's it like there drinking spiced coffee in Moscow? And Nick Jers 420 says, pretty sure they'll just say inflation numbers are wrong and they'll use AI as an excuse to cut. I mean, I wouldn't rule that out. Trump wants a cut, doesn't he? He's not going to be happy when his boy Kevin Walsh hikes rates. Because that was
that's true. He's not going to be, but I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it's not down to just Kevin Walsh. So we'll have to see how the rest of the committee feels about Trump after this. I
must say, if the Fed if the Walsh Fed does raise rates at a future meeting, I am very much looking forward to the Truth Social post.
Oh man, I'm going to be setting notifications. I'm going to enjoy watching that. Get the popcorn out. It's going to be a full-on spectacle. He's going to go and find out about all those additional overruns of the Fed building that were done. He's like, Kevin Walsh, I know you're only here for a few months, but you were supposed to be on top of all these massive renovation costs. As a result, we're going to now prosecute you with the DOJ. He's going to go and find mortgage fraud on another Fed governor. You know how he rolls.
Yeah, I hope Kevin Walsh has thick skin. I mean, he should know what he's getting himself into. Just before we go, black coffee is the only way. And Graham Campson, who is a long-time watcher but first-time commenter, has been moved by the coffee chat to recommend a dirty chai latte.
That does not sound. What's the key ingredient in a dirty chai latte? Please.
Yeah. Let us know, Graham. I'm glad as well that all the sort of crypto and finance chat we've been doing over the years has not been enough. But as soon as we start talking about coffee, we've managed to grab you into the chat. That's brilliant. Okay. So sentiment in the chat, not too bad, really, not too bad. But it's time to focus in on last week's big villain, Michael Saylor, because as we've been discussing, he had the temerity, or strategy, I should say, had the temerity to sell.
The absolute gall to sell. Mr. Never Sell Your Bitcoin. And he's also made me look again 15 years older than I actually am in this particular AI generated image. That's the stress he's put on my face.
He's aged you.
Me.
Yes. So this was. So let's look at what happened then. So from Saylor to seller, as a few people on Twitter made that connection. First of all, the amount sold 32 BTC, which raised around $2.5 million in cash. Now, for us mere mortals, 32 BTC and $2.5 million is quite a lot of money. But yeah, I think when you're talking about the largest corporate holder of Bitcoin on the planet, it's not all that much. And the proceeds were, and I quote here, expected to fund distributions on preferred stock, and that's those stretch STRC dividends.
Yep. And this was the first BTC sale since December 2022, as I mentioned. It was about only 0.004% of total holdings. And Saylor's response on X was, quote, to only say, our goal is to make STRC the best credit instrument in the world. And he, of course, pointedly did not mention Bitcoin, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So clearly feeling the heat there a bit. Yeah. 0.004% of total holdings, and the market absolutely craps itself. Yeah. But let's talk a little bit more about STRC, because this is kind of, I guess, the instrument sort of at the heart of all this, the structural risk. So STRC is this perpetual preferred stock, and it currently pays an 11.5% annual dividend.
Exactly. And as a preferred instrument, the price should target about $100. So that basically par value. And it was trading at this time, it's about $93 right now, right? And what this basically, how the mechanism worked is that when Stretch was trading at or near, so above $100, Strategy would issue new shares via an ATM program or at the money program. It raises the cash and it buys Bitcoin. But, and here's the problem, if Stretch stays below $100, i.e. below par, the ATM issuance engine that funded these Bitcoin purchases, it kind of stalls. So the dividend obligation grows over time as more STRC shares are outstanding. And the big fear here is that as STRC is below par, the issuance will slow, less Bitcoin will be bought, the Bitcoin price falls even more, Stretch falls even more, forced to sell more Bitcoin to meet these dividend obligations, etc., etc. The feedback loop, the chain reaction, the cascading collapse continues. That's the fear. That's the bear case.
I don't know, Nick. It stop me if you've heard this one before, but this mechanism that on paper works really well and acts as a positive self-reinforcing flywheel until it doesn't, and then descends into a death spiral, a possible death spiral. That just feels a little. I feel like we've been here before.
Yeah, I mean it's weird. I don't know if wasn't there a project back a few years ago, something where you could stake cryptocurrency and it was trying to peg to a $1. It's algorithmic stablecoin.
Yeah. It's gone out of my head now, but yeah, I think
it was run by some Korean chap. I mean, yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, we all forget so quickly, right?
Exactly. Yes, we have. I wouldn't say strategy is in any sense on the same level as that project that shall remain nameless. But certainly, certainly there are kind of overtures of bear markets past here, which make for somewhat uncomfortable reading. Now, David, our head of research, did a really good breakdown of this whole strategy and STRC business over in the Coin Bureau Club Discord. So if you are a Discord or Coin Bureau Club member, then do check that out, because that basically will tell you everything you need to know on that. But let's have a look at the broader implications of all this and what this means for Bitcoin. So obviously, Strategy has been the single largest consistent buyer of BTC since 2020. And if that buying engine slows, then that marks the weakening of a major demand driver for BTC, especially under current market conditions.
Yeah, and this is, quote, strategy effect on Bitcoin's price has been real and documented, and if it reverses, that's a headwind.
Yeah. Now, okay, let's look at the bull case. The bull case says this is just noise. This is 32 BTC, as we pointed out earlier. That is a tiny fraction. That is less than 0.1% of what Strategy holds in BTC. So everyone just chill out. The thesis is still intact. Saylor still believes in BTC. It was just a test of liquidity. Everyone's fine. Just grow up and stop being a big baby.
Yeah, that's the bull case. The bear case, though, Love AI images. The first sale breaks a psychological commitment, which it was, never sell your Bitcoin. And then the capital structure complexity grows with every single preferred share issuance. And Bitcoin as ATM collateral only works when Bitcoin is going up. So, yeah, that's the bear case. Yeah. No, it's a tough one, Guy.
It is. It is. I personally lean towards the idea that strategy will be fine, but I just think they've kind of overcomplicated things. You know, it was like buy Bitcoin and hold it, and now we have. Obviously, we had MSTR before, but now we have Stretch. I mean, and Stretch is just one of these preferred stocks. I mean, there are about 4 or 5 others.
Yeah. I think it's also the point at which I think that we should also point out here is the fact that he had a massive cash pile specifically saved to be able to pay for his Stretch dividends up to up from a year to 18 months, like over $2 billion worth. And like 2 weeks ago, he decided to use that. Remember we buy in bonds stuff that week. He used some of that cash pile to buy back some of his bonds, his outstanding convertibles, which are only due in 2029. So many people pointed out that was a silly move because now he's short of cash to be able to pay for STRC. And as a result, now you're selling Bitcoin to do it. So I think that's a big concern.
Yeah. Yeah, and plus, I think he must have known what effect that would have on the market. And okay, it's not Saylor's job it's not Strategy's job to prop up the price of Bitcoin, although it certainly helps their cause if they can. But I don't know, if market conditions were way better and they were selling near the top, or even if just sentiment was better, I think it would have passed, not without comment, but it wouldn't have been such a big deal. But to sell when the price is already low, I mean, I think it was maybe around about their cost basis. So, probably didn't lose too much on it. But to sell when sentiment is already as bad as it's possibly ever been, that for me, I think that for me is the bit that I find a little bit unforgivable. It's just like, morale was already low. And then Strategy decided to sell some Bitcoin. It's like, thanks, guys. Just how far down to Goblin Town do you want to take us?
I think he coordinated with that developer who found the exploit in the Zcash protocol, just to basically drop the news at the same time, just to kind of just punch us when we're down. Just come on, guys.
Yeah.
But
this is
guys, hopefully we got some. Hopefully, Jordy has got some good news for us in the charts today. He'll be taking over the TA today. So with that out of the way, guys, let's roll with some TA from Jordy. Get your TA fix when Jordy's in the mix.
What's up, guys? We have finally reached our full take profit levels on this beautiful Bitcoin trade, and it may seem like magic, but really the strategy played out exactly as we expected it to. This entry came in right at the confluence of the 4-hour bearish order block and the very clear high volume node on the fixed range volume profile. Our third major level of confluence was, as always, our market cipher B with this beautiful double bearish divergence and trigger wave pattern. This resulted in some of the best trades we have had this year, with a 3,000% on Bitcoin on the 100x short, a beautiful Ethereum trade, and we managed to cross the 4,000% mark on the SUI 50x short. This is just a reminder on how important it is to have a well back-tested trading strategy and stick to it. I have taken major profits out of the trades, but I am leaving something to ride in case we go lower, and this could be a possibility due to this very clear bear flag pattern that we are seeing playing out with a price target around $48,000. We have seen this happen before. It doesn't mean it will happen again, but we may be getting a rinse and repeat of the previous range and dump down to the bear flag target. Looking again at the fixed range volume profile on this micro range, we can see the support levels busy holding us up, and that was a nice place to take a sniper long, again showing us why the fixed range volume profile is so important to use. And now we can see the current resistance that we are facing. These are the levels to keep our eyes on, as well as a move out of the value area low to close the fair value gap up to the POC. Then it's clear to see where the resistance levels are sitting above us. It is a major deciding time now for Bitcoin whether we're going to lose this range to the downside or simply pump back up to the top of the range. Since we are in the value area low currently, we are of course looking for our long trade signals, and we'll dig into that on Market Cypher shortly. Looking at the EMA 50 and 200 on the daily time frame, we can see a major failure below the 50 EMA after rejecting at the 200. This is no surprise, as historically in bear markets, for the last 2 cycles, there has been a major rejection at this 200. We are now extended below the 50, and this could be a case for us pulling back up to this 50 level and now testing that broken support as resistance once again. Also very significant to see here that we have broken down below the weekly 200 moving average. Historically, this has been a sign of major fear coming in and whale accumulation happening. Not financial advice, but not the worst time to be building up your Bitcoin reserves on dollar cost averaging. Looking at our daily, regular, and stochastic RSIs, these are something we have to watch very closely. We can see the regular RSI has turned around, not with an ideal shark fin pattern, but we did see a bottoming out here, and we are seeing the stochastic trending back up towards the momentum zone. We need to watch here if the regular RSI does make it back up into the momentum zone to come back up to the 50 line, and if our stochastic keeps trending back upwards, as this would help us to identify this as a proper reversal on the higher timeframes. Now looking at, in my opinion, the most important indicator you can use here, Market Cypher B. First of all, we see our wave trend down at levels that we have not seen since our previous bear market bottom. Looking for the reversal signs here, we did see VWAP crossing to the upside, and it is our money flow index that is showing us some confusion. And this is why I would say that we need to be very careful here of falling into a bull trap. We need to see the money flow turning around on its trend here before we can confidently go long on the daily time frame. And we might have to be very patient here once again. As we can see from the last beautiful longs, we may see something like this bullish divergence occurring, and looking back we can see how long it did take for the money flow to turn around and then to get that trigger wave dot for the rifle manipulation pattern, which was the ultimate entry into that long. I know this sounds confusing if you don't know the strategies, but there is a full playlist on this on my channel. And just a heads up here, if we are to see a bullish divergence, of course this would mean lower levels on price and higher levels on momentum. We may then have to wait through some chop before getting our nice manipulation drop into the long and the trigger wave. This is almost a perfect Morningstar pattern on the daily time frame, except the final candle did not engulf the first candle, making it not as strong as a reversal pattern. So let's see what happens here. As I say, wait for that money flow to turn around before you pull the trigger on the long.
Oh, I was really enjoying that alpha there. Wow.
Nice.
Intense, man. So that was a lot of alpha there in that particular section, Bomjordi, including in the most meditative voice there is. And also he made a lot of money if you guys had followed Jordy's trade. So let's, if you guys, yeah, Sui, and then also Bitcoin and ETH. And if you guys have been following Jordy over on CoinVero Trading, where he streams, there we go. You can go and see his streams and his regular posts. He goes and did these deep breakdowns as well as broader trading education. So go and check Jordy out now on the trading channel.
Absolutely. Okay, Nick, shall we look at some tweets of the week?
Let's roll. Let's get some humor going. Yeah.
Okay. So, as you can imagine, at least one of today's tweets takes a swipe at Mr. Saylor. This one resurrecting that old headline, lost $6 billion in a day. This was back in 2000, but he didn't quit. He spent the next 26 years of his life retard maxing and found a new way to run back an even bigger loss of investors' money. Inspirational.
Well done, sir. You know, go hard or go home. There we go.
Never give up, folks. Never give up. Just because you lost $6 billion in a day doesn't mean you can't lose many, many times that if you apply yourself and stick to the plan. Yes, well done, Michael Saylor there. Next tweet is this one, also Michael Saylor related. This is an old one, but a good one. Yes, Lily Phillips.
Everyone's favorite Brit, right, Guy? Yeah, she's the one of the most famous Brits around, right?
One of Britain's finest exports, yes.
Right up there with the Queen, right? With the ex-Queen.
Yes, with Her Late Majesty. Yes, it's Her Late Majesty, and then probably Lily Phillips. Yeah. Bonnie Blue in third. Yes, so screwing 100,000 men in a day. Well done again, Michael Saylor. Okay.
Trademark infringement, stealing her idea there.
Yeah, you should. I would suggest that Lily sue him for stealing her idea, but I don't think he's got all that much cash at the moment, so we don't want to force him to sell more Bitcoin. Okay, next up we have this one. Nick, can you explain this one?
Seppuku is it's like harikiri. So it's a form of dignified suicide that the samurais used to do with their sword, where they would disembowel themselves and then someone would chop their heads off. So it was a form of sacrifice. If you dishonored your name and your family's name in the samurai tradition, you would commit a seppuku. So I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If you're in Bitcoin, the only honorable way to go is sacrifice yourself in an honorable way, to not to your family's name, to not disgrace your family's name because of your Bitcoin investment. Yes.
Too late, but yes, we should state that we do not endorse seppuku in any way, of course. Okay, next up we have one from Zach XBT, and he is taking a swipe here at another prominent crypto personality who is, I think, probably up there with Michael Saylor as least popular in the cryptoverse right now.
Right now, yes, because of shilling and dumping multiple different tokens, sometimes less than a day after. And this includes NIA, Hype, and ZEC, and the WorldCoin, WLD, and that's Mr. Arthur Hayes, right? Yes. So Zach XBT took aim at this and accused him of using his audience as exit liquidity. And this obviously did the rounds on crypto Twitter.
Yeah, I think, crypto Twitter is always kind of quick to look for villains and scapegoats, when the market is struggling. And I always feel that's a little bit counterproductive. But actually, in this case, I think it's kind of fair enough. I think, he's been sort of bull posting the absolute crap out of those tickers. And then, oh, by the way, I've sold them.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Not a good
Anyways, we need to hold our industry, sort of thought leaders to a higher standard, but that's a different story entirely.
Yeah.
Final tweet. This is from the longevity professional, Mr. Brian Johnson, obviously trying to take a bit of a humorous take on what's happened. Well, this is more on stock side, but on Friday. But yes, the red light therapy, you can just use the red screens from your trading terminal to give yourself additional red light therapy. So although the losses on your crypto account and on your stock account are reducing your life expectancy, the red light therapy that you're getting from the emanating red light could actually increase your life expectancy. So good strategy.
Good old Brian, finding the positives there. No wonder he's going to live forever. Okay, so that was tweets of the week. Now we have a busy week, or I should say, a busy couple of days coming up this week, don't we?
Yeah, so Wednesday's a big one. That's the US CPI number. The previous was 3.8%. The previous core was 3.3. This is one of the most important releases of the week, and indeed probably of the entire year, because it could shape how the Fed thinks about monetary policy going forward. If you have a hot print, let's say above 3.9%, then it locks in the rate hike expectations. It pushes bonds lower, hammers risk assets, including crypto. And then the BOJ feels even more pressure to hike, and that's another component we should think about, as well as foreign central banks.
Yeah.
If there's a soft print below 3.6%, then it gives the Fed a bit of breathing room, and there could be a relief rally in bonds and equities, and short-term positive for crypto as well, we hope.
Okay, so we are praying for a soft print. We're praying for 3.5%.
Yep.
Or less.
We are indeed. And then on Thursday, we've got the PPI, or the producer price inflation numbers. The previous was a very hot 6% year on year. And could potentially likely confirm Wednesday's CPI reading was a one-off, or whether it was indeed entrenched. And then finally, a big day, Thursday and Friday, we've got the SpaceX IPO pricing. It's expected to price between Thursday and Friday. And also, don't forget that there's the NASDAQ fast entry rules, which means that the moment it starts trading, because of a change that they've implemented at NASDAQ, it could potentially be included within the index very quickly after publicly trading, which would then force a lot of the passive index funds and passive asset managers to accumulate SpaceX to track the index. So that's an important, it could have big market microstructure impacts.
Yeah. Okay, so yes, big week coming up. I guess with the SpaceX IPO pricing, we get to see just how wealthy, how much wealthier Elon Musk is going to get, because he's going to be. I think the SpaceX IPO makes him the world's first trillionaire.
Yep, that it is. Wild.
Wow. Okay, so before we go then, let's just look quickly back over the comments. So a dirty chai is just a chai with coffee, lol, it's amazing. Jordan, not only nailing it on the trades, but a coffee connoisseur as well. Okay.
Good job, sir. Dig it. So suave, sophisticated, he knows it all.
Oh, of course he does. Of course he does. He works at the Coin Bureau. Black pepper helps the body absorb nutrients in ginger and turmeric. So that's why it's in the coffee.
Okay, interesting.
Maybe we should do a separate coffee stream. I find this all quite interesting. I wouldn't describe myself as a coffee nerd. I do appreciate a good cup of coffee.
Coffee Bureau. There was a really good comment here. Where is it? Here we go. Let me show that. Coffee Brew.
Coffee Bureau. That sounds like a South African channel.
Brew.
Coffee Bureau. Brew. And Thibaut, need emotional support? No, I need financial support from Daddy Bureau.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You assume your daddy's got money to give my son, but unfortunately, daddy's had a bit of daddy's gambled your inheritance away on the crypto casino. Yeah. Unfortunately, daddy's going to go and commit seppuku.
Oh my word. Well, on that note, folks, we will leave you to it. So we will be back next week, same time, same place, with our dedicated coffee stream. Because if we have another week in crypto like this, maybe we'll have to talk about coffee. Maybe no one will want to talk about crypto at all. But yes, thank you all for watching. Thank you, Nick. And we will see you next week.
Cheers, guys.
I hope cryptos go up so Guy can buy a microphone for the podcast. A moment of silence for Nick as he mourns the loss of his beloved CME Gap. Nick the Teletubby, good job, I was wearing sunnies. Nick's shirt and Guy's white pasty arms. Nick the Teletubby, good job, I was wearing sunnies. Nick's shirt and Guy's white pasty arms.
Do you know, old boy, I remember back in the day when one Bitcoin would set you back just a shilling. And then, of course, it climbed and climbed, and then it was a guinea, and then it was 18 guineas and sixpence.
Those are the good old days, old young chap. Oh, my God, I wish I could go back to those.
Oh, goodness. Wouldn't it be wonderful? Wouldn't it be